Close your eyes now, and let the heaviness of the day simply fall away. Imagine yourself sinking into a soft, warm cloud of comfort, where the only thing that matters is the rhythm of your own breath. In and out, gentle and slow. We are going to take a journey together tonight, not to a place of worry or haste, but to a quiet corner of the past, a place where the mysteries of the universe gently brush against the fabric of everyday life. Let your mind wander, drifting like a leaf on a slow-moving river, until we find ourselves in the north of England, in the late 1950s. The air here is cool and crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth, ancient stone, and the faint, comforting aroma of coal smoke drifting from chimneys. We're in the town of Hexham, a place steeped in history, where the River Tyne flows steadily, its waters reflecting the gray skies and the green willows that line its banks. It is a town of cobblestones and church bells, where life moves at a walking pace, and neighbors stop to speak in hushed, friendly tones under the shelter of their umbrellas. There is a particular feeling to a town like this, especially when the twilight settles in. The street lamps flicker to life, casting pools of amber light on the wet pavement, and the world feels enclosed, safe, and intimate. It is here, in this atmosphere of quiet English domesticity, that we find the Pollock family. John and Florence Pollock were ordinary people, living a life that was, by all accounts, simple and grounded. They ran a small grocery shop, a place filled with the smells of tea leaves, polished wood, and fresh bread. You can imagine the sound of the shop bell ringing as customers came and went, the murmur of conversation about the weather or the price of milk. It was a good life, a steady life, built on the foundations of hard work and deep, abiding love. But within the walls of their home, there was a richness of spirit that went beyond the grocery ledger. John, the father, was a man of profound contemplation. He was a thinker, a man who looked at the stars and wondered about the spaces in between. He held a deep belief in the continuity of the soul, the idea that we are not merely temporary visitors here, but travelers on a much longer journey, one that circles back upon itself like the seasons. It is a comforting thought, is it not? That nothing is ever truly lost, only changed, waiting to return to us in a new form. John and Florence had two daughters, Joanna, who was 11, and Jacqueline, who was 6. They were the light of the house, the energy that filled the rooms with laughter and the sound of small footsteps. Imagine them playing together, two sisters with a bond that seemed woven from the very same thread. Joanna, the protector, the guide, always watching over little Jacqueline. They shared secrets whispered in the dark. They shared games played on the rug by the fireplace, while the rain tapped gently against the window pane. They were inseparable, a single unit of joy. The house was filled with the evidence of their presence, dolls propped up in chairs, drawings pinned to the walls, the scatter of toys that tells the story of a happy childhood. John adored them with a fierce, protective love. He would watch them, marveling at their distinct personalities, yet seeing the echo of himself and Florence in their eyes. But life, in its mysterious unfolding, brings seasons of winter just as surely as it brings the spring. There came a day, a Sunday in May, when the silence fell. It was not a silence of peace, but a sudden, profound stillness that settled over the Pollock household. The details of the event do not matter so much now, for we are not here to dwell on the sharp edges of sorrow, but rather on the mist that rises afterwards. The girls, Joanna and Jacqueline, left this world together. They departed hand in hand, just as they had lived. And suddenly, the house that had been so full of noise and light became a quiet sanctuary of memory. For Florence, the grief was a heavy cloak, a weight that made the days long and the nights longer. She moved through the house like a shadow, touching the objects they had left behind, the hair ribbons, the shoes, the unfinished drawings. It is the nature of a mother's heart to hold on, to keep the flame of memory burning even when the wind blows cold. But John, in his sorrow, found something else. Amidst the pain, there was a strange, unshakable conviction growing within him. While the town of Hexham mourned, and the neighbors spoke in low, sympathetic tones about a tragedy that could never be mended, John felt a different truth taking root in his soul. He spent hours in prayer, in meditation, his mind reaching out beyond the veil of the material world. He began to say something that confused those around him, something that seemed born of grief-stricken hope, yet spoken with the clarity of absolute certainty. He told Florence, with a gentle intensity, that their daughters would return, not in spirit only, but in fact. He believed, with every fiber of his being, that the cycle was not broken, merely paused. "They will come back to us," he would say, staring into the embers of the fireplace as the wind howled outside. "They are not gone forever. They will be born again, into this house, into our arms." Florence, understandably, found this difficult to accept. Her grief was grounded in the finality of loss. She wanted to heal, to move forward, and she feared that John's insistence was merely a way to deny the painful truth. It caused a gentle friction between them, a quiet struggle between the realism of a grieving mother and the mystical hope of a visionary father. Time moved on, as it always does, slow and steady as the River Tyne. The seasons turned, the leaves fell from the trees and returned again green and new. The sharp edge of grief began to soften, not disappearing, but becoming part of the landscape of their lives, like an old stone wall covered in moss. And then, against the odds, against the expectations of doctors and the whispers of the town, Florence discovered she was with child again. The news brought a fresh wave of emotion to the household. For Florence, it was a blessing, a chance to nurture life again. But for John, it was confirmation. He did not just expect a child, he expected them. He told anyone who would listen that Florence was carrying twins. The doctor said it was impossible, that he could hear only one heartbeat, that there was no evidence of two. But John just smiled, a sad, knowing smile. He knew what he knew. He felt the presence of two souls waiting in the wings, waiting for the curtain to rise once more. He prepared his heart not for a new stranger, but for a reunion. On October 4th, 1958, a year and a half after the silence had fallen, the time arrived. The autumn air was crisp, the sky a deep, expansive gray. In the quiet of the delivery room, the doctor's prediction was proven wrong, and John's vision was proven right. Florence gave birth to twin girls. They named them Jillian and Jennifer. As John held the two small bundles in his arms, looking down at their sleeping faces, he felt a sense of peace that transcended understanding. They were here. The house would be filled with noise again. The silence was broken. But as he looked closer, examining the tiny details of his newborn daughters, he noticed things, small things, marks upon their skin that sent a shiver of recognition through him. Jennifer, the younger twin by just a few minutes, had a white line, a gentle scar-like mark across her forehead. It was in the exact same place, the precise location, where Jacqueline, his lost daughter, had carried a scar from a childhood fall. And on her waist, a birthmark, distinct and pigmented, identical to a mark Jacqueline had possessed. How often do we dismiss the small details as coincidence? And yet, sometimes, the universe speaks to us in whispers, in the smallest of signs, asking us to pay attention. John traced the mark with his finger, his heart beating a slow, heavy rhythm. He looked at Gillian, and then at Jennifer. He looked at Florence, who was exhausted but happy. He did not speak of it then. He let the moment be one of pure welcome. But in the quiet chambers of his mind, the conviction deepened into something solid as rock. The cycle had turned, the wheel had spun, and in the soft, milky twilight of the nursery, surrounded by the scent of baby powder and fresh linens, the mystery of the Pollock twins had officially begun. We are going to rest here for a moment, in this nursery, watching the slow rise and fall of the infants' chests. Outside, the town of Hexham sleeps under the stars, unaware of the strange and beautiful story unfolding behind the curtains of the Pollock home. The rain begins to fall again, a gentle, rhythmic drumming on the roof, a lullaby for the new souls, and for the old ones. Breathe in the peace of this moment, the feeling of a fresh start, the sense that love is a force powerful enough to bridge the gap between worlds. Let the image of the sleeping twins linger in your mind, safe, warm, and held in the arms of a destiny that we are only just beginning to understand. As the rain clears and the seasons begin their slow, deliberate rotation, time begins its gentle march forward. The nursery, once filled with the hushed anticipation of new life, now echoes with the soft, cooing sounds of growth. Days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, drifting by like clouds across a vast, open sky. The twins, Gillian and Jennifer, grow under the watchful, loving gaze of their parents. It is in these early, tender months, when the world is nothing but warmth and milk and sleep, that the first ripples of the mystery begin to surface. It starts not with words, nor with actions, but with the quiet testimony of the body itself. John, ever the observer, ever the keeper of his silent faith, notices the marks on baby Jennifer's skin. They are faint, like whispers written in flesh. On her forehead, just above the right eye, sits a small, white line. It is a scar, or rather, the memory of a scar. To a stranger, it is merely a birthmark, a random pigmentation of nature. But to John, it is a map. It traces the exact line where Jacqueline, the sister Jennifer never knew, had fallen and scarred herself years before. And there is more. On her waist, a darker mark, a birthmark distinct and unique, resting in the precise location where Jacqueline had carried a mark of her own. It is as if the soul, in its journey back to the physical world, carried with it the imprint of its previous vessel, a stamp of identity, ensuring it would be recognized by those with eyes to see. Florence, the mother, washes the infants in the warm, soapy water of the evening bath, her hands gentle and rhythmic. She sees the marks. Of course she does. But the mind often protects us from the impossible. She sees them as coincidences, little echoes of biology. She hums softly, drying their soft skin with fluffy towels, wrapping them in the comfort of the here and now. But the seed has been planted. The physical evidence is there, silent and undeniable, waiting for the mind to catch up to what the heart already suspects. As the twins move from the cradle to the floor, learning to crawl, and then to take those first, wobbling steps, the family decides to leave Hexham. The memories there are too thick, too heavy with both joy and sorrow. They move to a new town, Whitley Bay, where the air smells of salt and the sea stretches out to the horizon, a vast blue canvas of possibility. Here, away from the familiar streets and the old haunts, the girls begin to speak. Language blooms in them like wildflowers in spring, and with language comes the unlocking of the inner world. It happens on a quiet afternoon, the kind where dust motes dance in the shafts of sunlight streaming through the windows. John decides to bring down a box from the attic. It is an old box, stored away and half forgotten, containing the toys of his first daughters, Joanna and Jacqueline. He places it on the rug, the cardboard soft with age, and opens the flaps. Jillian and Jennifer, now roughly 3 years old, approach the box with the curiosity of children, but they do not act as if they are discovering something new. There is no hesitation, no questioning. They reach into the box with a familiarity that sends a gentle shiver through the room. Jennifer pulls out a doll. It is not just any doll, but a specific toy that belonged to Jacqueline. Without a moment's pause, without a single prompt from her father, she cradles it and says, "This is Mary." John watches, his breath held in his chest. Mary was the name Jacqueline had given the doll. Then Jillian reaches in. She pulls out a stuffed bear, worn from years of love. "And this is mine," she says softly. "This is Susan." Susan, the correct name. The name Joanna had whispered to the bear a lifetime ago. Consider the weight of this moment. In a sunlit room, surrounded by the safety of a new home, 2 small children bridge the gap of death and time simply by remembering the names of their toys. It is not scary. It is not jarring. It feels inevitable. It feels like finding a book you thought you had lost, only to discover it was on the shelf all along, waiting for you to open it again. The atmosphere in the house shifts after this. Florence, who had been so resistant, so grounded in the practical world, begins to observe her daughters with a new kind of attention. She watches them play. She listens to the games they invent. They do not play like other children. They often play a game where they are sisters from before. They discuss things that happened years ago, events from a time before they were born. They speak of the big school down the road in Hexham, a school they have never seen, never visited. They describe the playground, the swings, the specific way the path curved around the building. One afternoon, while Florence is folding laundry nearby, she hears them talking about the accident. They do not speak of it with fear, but with a matter-of-fact tone, like travelers discussing a detour on a long journey. They talk about the car. They talk about the blood coming from their eyes. They comfort one another, holding hands, recreating the final moments of their previous lives with an innocence that makes the scene profoundly sacred. "I didn't want to leave you," one whispers to the other. "I know," the other replies, "but we are back now." It is a lullaby of reunion. The bond between them is stronger than simple sisterhood. It is a double knot, tied once in the past and tightened again in the present. They are inseparable, moving through the house like 2 satellites in a perfect, synchronized orbit. When the twins are 4 years old, the family decides to return to Hexham for a visit. It has been years since they walked those streets. The girls have no memory of this town in their current lives. They have never seen the park, the abbey, the old house. As the car winds its way into the town, the engine humming a low, steady drone, the girls become animated. They press their faces against the cool glass of the windows, their eyes wide with recognition. "Look!" one cries out, pointing a small finger. "That's the school we went to." "And there," the other chimes in, "that's where we used to play on the swings." They navigate the town from the back seat. They know what is around the corner before the car turns. They know where the sweet shop is. They know the shortcuts. They are not tourists in a strange land. They are residents returning home. John drives slowly, letting the reality of it wash over him. The skepticism of the world outside feels miles away. Here, in this car, in this moment, the truth is as clear as the daylight. The wheel has turned. The personalities, the memories, the love. It has all survived the transition. They stop at a park, a place green and lush, where the leaves of the old oak trees rustle in the wind. The girls run ahead, their laughter trailing behind them like ribbons. They run straight to a specific bench, a bench where Joanna and Jacqueline used to sit. They sit there now, swinging their legs, looking at their parents with smiles that seem to say, "We told you, we are here." But with the memories come the shadows of the past as well. It is not all sunshine and toys. There is a deep, instinctual caution in them. Whenever a car engine revs too loudly, or a vehicle passes too close to them on the street, the girls freeze. It is not a tantrum. It is a stillness, a sudden, protective embrace. They grab onto each other, their knuckles white, their eyes wide. "The car is coming to get us!" they shriek, huddling together for safety. It is a visceral reaction, a trauma imprinted on the soul. But even this fear is handled with a strange sort of grace. It does not linger. Once the car passes, once the danger recedes, they release each other and return to their play. It is as if they are remembering a bad dream, shaking it off, and stepping back into the light of the present day. We watch them now, running through the grass of the Hexham Park, the sunlight catching in their hair. They are distinct individuals, Gillian and Jennifer, and yet they are carrying a vast, shared history. They are a testament to the idea that nothing is ever truly lost, that love is a current that flows beneath the surface of reality, guiding us back to the places and the people we belong to. The afternoon sun begins to dip lower in the sky, casting long golden shadows across the grass. The air grows cooler, settling into the peaceful rhythm of evening. The family gathers together, walking back toward the car. The mystery is no longer a question to be solved, but a reality to be lived. Let us pause here, in the quiet aftermath of this visit. Imagine the peace of the drive home, the twins falling asleep in the back seat, their heads resting against one another. The hum of the tires on the road is a soothing sound, a steady vibration that lulls the mind into a state of deep relaxation. The past and the present have merged, flowing together like two rivers meeting at the sea. Everything is calm. Everything is as it should be. The story continues, not with fanfare, but with the quiet, steady breathing of sleeping children. Safe, found, and home once again. The road stretches out ahead, a ribbon of gray asphalt unwinding beneath the steady wheels. Outside the windows, the world is softening, losing the sharp edges of the day to the encroaching velvet of twilight. The vibrant greens of the passing fields deepen into shades of sage and moss, eventually settling into the monochrome silhouettes of the night. Inside the car, the atmosphere is heavy with comfort. A warm, enclosed capsule moving through the cooling air. The rhythmic hum of the engine becomes a lullaby, a low, constant vibration that resonates in the chest and soothes the nervous system. In the back seat, the twins are deep in the land of dreams. Their breathing is synchronized, a soft, hushing sound that mingles with the whisper of the wind against the glass. There is a profound sense of safety here, in this space between destinations. It is the feeling of being carried, of surrendering control to a steady driver, allowing the miles to pass without effort. It is a reminder that we are all, in some way, passengers, carried along by forces of time and love that steer us exactly where we need to go, even when we do not know the way ourselves. As the car turns into the driveway, the headlights sweep across the familiar facade of the house. It stands waiting, a sanctuary of stone and timber, anchoring the family to the earth. The engine cuts, and silence rushes in to fill the space, sudden and profound. But it is not an empty silence. It is a fullness, a quietude rich with presence. The crickets have begun their nightly chorus, a rhythmic chirping that marks the heartbeat of the evening. John and Florence move with the gentle efficiency of parents who do not wish to wake their sleeping children. They open the doors, letting in the scent of damp grass and night-blooming jasmine. They lift the girls, their small bodies heavy and limp with slumber, heads resting trustingly on parental shoulders. This is a weight that every parent knows, the precious, grounding burden of a sleeping child. It is a physical connection that transcends words, a transfer of warmth and protection that flows from heart to heart. Inside, the house is dim and still. The air holds the faint, comforting aroma of the day's living, polished wood, old books, and the lingering scent of tea. They carry the twins up the stairs, the wood creaking softly underfoot, a familiar sound that has echoed through these halls for years. In the bedroom, the moonlight spills across the floor in a pool of silver, illuminating the small beds. They lay the girls down, tucking the blankets around them with practiced tenderness. The fabric settles over them like a cloud, warm and secure. Jillian stirs slightly, murmuring a wordless sound before sinking back into the depths of rest. Jennifer turns her face toward her sister, an instinctual movement, seeking the proximity that has defined their existence across time. They are safe. They are home. John and Florence stand in the doorway for a moment, lingering in the semi-darkness. They watch the rise and fall of the blankets, the steady rhythm of life continuing. In this quiet moment, the questions of the past, the mysteries of scars and memories, the baffling impossibility of it all, simply dissolve. What remains is not a puzzle to be solved, but a truth to be felt. They realize that the universe is not a chaotic place of random endings, but a vast, intricate tapestry where threads may disappear from view, only to re-emerge in the pattern, vibrant and new. They gently pull the door closed, leaving it open just a crack, a sliver of hallway light falling across the carpet. Downstairs, the house settles for the night. The ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall is slow and deliberate, measuring out the moments of peace. Tick, tock, tick, tock. It is the heartbeat of the home, a sound that says all is well, all is consistent. As the parents retire and the lights are extinguished one by one, the house becomes part of the greater darkness of the night. Outside, the sky is a vast dome of indigo, scattered with the diamond dust of stars. These are the same stars that watched over them years ago, the same stars that watch over us all. They are ancient witnesses to the cycle of coming and going, of waking and sleeping, of living and returning. The story of the Pollock twins, in the end, is not a ghost story. It is a love story. It is a story about the stubbornness of affection, the way a soul can imprint itself upon the world so deeply that it refuses to be erased. It suggests that our connections to one another are stronger than the physical laws we understand, that love is a tether that stretches across the boundaries of what we think is possible. Think of the ocean, how the tide retreats, pulling away from the shore until the sand is dry and barren. To an observer watching only that moment, it might seem the water is gone forever. But the ocean always returns. The water swells, rises, and washes back over the sand, reclaiming the shore. Life, perhaps, is just like the tides, a rhythmic, endless motion of departure and return. Nothing is truly gone. It is merely waiting for the tide to turn. Allow yourself to rest in that thought. Let the comfort of it wrap around you like a heavy quilt. There is no need to worry about what is lost, for in the grand economy of the universe, everything is kept safe. The night deepens. The world outside grows stiller, quieter. The wind has dropped, leaving the trees motionless against the sky. The only movement is the slow drift of the moon across the heavens, a silent guardian watching over the sleeping earth. Imagine yourself in that quiet house, in a room filled with soft shadows and the perfect temperature of sleep. You are safe here. You are protected by the walls, by the roof, by the love that permeates the space. The mystery has been laid to rest. The questions have all been answered with a simple, peaceful silence. Your eyelids feel heavy, weighed down by a pleasant drowsiness. The muscles in your face relax, smoothing out the tension of the day. Your shoulders drop, sinking into the support of your bed. Your breathing slows, matching the rhythm of the sleeping twins, matching the rhythm of the tides, matching the slow, steady rotation of the earth itself. Everything is cyclical. Everything returns to peace. The day circles into night. Activity circles into rest. Questions circle into understanding. As we leave the Pollock family, sleeping soundly in their beds, we leave behind the need for explanations. We simply accept the gift of their story, a reminder that we are more than biology, more than chance. We are part of a continuous, flowing river of existence. Drift now on that river. Let the current take you. There is no need to steer, no need to look back. The water is warm, the movement is gentle, and the destination is a place of deep, restorative sleep. The images of the story fade, becoming soft washes of color behind your closed eyes. The golden sun on the grass, the silver moonlight on the floor, the white light of the stars. They all blend together into a soothing darkness. You are calm. You are complete. You are connected to everything that has ever been and everything that will ever be. Rest now. The journey is over. The mystery is at peace. And so are you. Sleep, in the quiet knowing that love returns. Sleep, in the comfort of the eternal now. Sleep,